My brothers and sisters, today I want to remind you of a powerful truthing. There is no need to look for a job anymore. Because the real opportunity, the real Rizq, sustenance, comes from the Almighty. Many people become anxious and disheartened, chasing job after job, hoping for a breakthrough. And when nothing comes, they lose hope. But have we forgotten who the true provider is? Allah is Ar-Razzaq, the sustainer. He has promised that no soul will leave this earth until it has received its portion of Rizq. So why the desperation? Why the panic? Instead of constantly running after jobs that may not be meant for us, we should focus on strengthening our connection with the Almighty, seeking His help, and using the skills He has given us in productive, halal ways. Perhaps the time has come not to look for a job, but to create one, to turn to entrepreneurship, to honest trade, to using your God-given talents to serve others. Remember, the prophets, peace be upon them, were shepherds, traders, craftsmen. They worked with their hands. They were not always seeking employment under others. My beloved brothers and sisters, it is not wrong to seek work, but what is wrong is to tie your heart to people, thinking that they alone can provide for you. Tie your heart to the Almighty. Seek sustenance through halal means. But always remember, the one who opens the doors is Allah alone. Never let rejection break your spirit. Each rejection is actually Allah's redirection. Perhaps He is pushing you towards something far better, something where you will not just earn a living, but also earn His pleasure. My message today is simple. Stop relying solely on jobs. Rely on Allah, work hard, be creative, and you will see doors open where you least expect. Allah is the true provider. He is Ar-Razzaq, the one who grants sustenance to every living creature, whether human, animal, bird, or insect. Before we were even born, before our souls were placed into our bodies, our provision was written by the Almighty. No one can ever take what has been decreed for you, and no one can stop it from reaching you. Sometimes, people become so consumed by the idea of securing a job or finding a particular position that they forget this fundamental truthing. It is not the job that provides for you. It is Allah. The job is merely a means, a channel chosen by Allah, but the sustenance comes from Him. Many people lose sleep worrying about where their next income will come from, or how they will survive if they don't get that one job they applied for. They begin to think that their future, their survival, their happiness depends entirely on that position. But this mindset weakens the heart, because it shifts reliance from Allah to creation. It is important to remind ourselves that it is not the company, the manager, or the salary that sustains us. They are merely tools in the hands of the Creator. He can close one door and open another in an instant. The one who keeps knocking on His door, nor the one who continues to pray and trust, will always find a way opened by His mercy. Allah has promised in the Quran that there is no moving creature on earth except that its sustenance is guaranteed by Him. Every leaf that falls, every grain that is consumed, every drop of water that nourishes, all of it is by His decree. So why should we worry excessively? Why should we feel like failures when one job application is rejected or when one opportunity does not come to pass? Instead of despair, we should increase our due, our effort, and our trust. Allah provides through means we could never imagine. A person might think that only a certain career or a certain employer can provide for them, but Allah may open doors from places we never considered. Sometimes, the job we desperately want is not written for us because Allah knows it will harm us in ways we cannot see. Perhaps it will distance us from Him. Perhaps it will take us into environments that are harmful for our faith. Perhaps it will distract us from our true purpose in life. Out of His mercy, He withholds it and redirects us towards something better. Our duty is to keep striving, but also to be content with His plan, knowing that He knows what is best for us. Look at the example of the birds. They leave their nests hungry in the morning and return with full bellies by the evening. They don't have stores, savings, or written contracts, but their trust is complete. They make the effort. They fly out and search, but they rely upon the one who provides for all. In the same way, we must work hard and seek lawful means of income, but our hearts should be connected to the one who controls all means. Nor is it when you remember that your sustenance is written, you begin to feel peace. You stop comparing your journey to others. Nor is it you stop feeling jealous of those who seem to have more. You understand that what is meant for you will come to you at the right time, in the right way. And when something is not meant for you, no amount of striving or pleading will bring it your way, because Allah's wisdom is perfect. This understanding helps us face life's challenges with patience. When a door closes, we do not break down in hopelessness. We know that the provider of that door can open another, far greater door. When our earnings seem tight, we do not fall into despair, because we know that the one who provided yesterday can provide today and tomorrow. And sometimes, through that test, He is teaching us, drawing us closer to Him, purifying our hearts and strengthening our character. So, let us focus on building that reliance, that connection with the one who never fails His servants. Let us purify our income sources, seek lawful means, and work hard, but let our hearts always remain tied to Allah, not to the job or the salary. Because the job can come and go, the salary can rise and fall, but the provision of Allah is constant, perfect, and guaranteed. When you truly believe this, nor is it you will find your heart at ease no matter what happens in this world. Don't let job rejections destroy your faith. Trust Allah's plan for you. When a person applies for a job and faces rejection, it can feel as if the world has collapsed. The heart sinks, the mind fills with doubts, and the soul begins to question, why me? But in reality, this is a moment that should strengthen our faith, not weaken it. A rejection is not a sign that you are worthless or that your efforts were in vain. It is a sign that Allah, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, has chosen something better for you. It is easy to forget this when disappointment clouds the heart, but a believer is one who remembers that Allah never abandons His servant. Every time a door closes, it is by the will of Allah. And every time another door opens, that too is by His will. When we are rejected, it is a test of our trust. Will we turn bitter and lose hope, or will we turn to the Almighty with even more sincerity and patience? Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. If you were rejected from a job, know that it was never meant for you. Even if you think it was the perfect opportunity, even if you believe it would have solved all your problems, remember that Allah sees what we do not see. He knows the unseen. He knows the future. What you thought was good for you may have been harmful. Perhaps that job would have pulled you away from your prayers. Perhaps it would have filled your heart with pride or led you into unlawful dealings. Perhaps it would have caused you stress or sorrow that you could not have imagined. Allah's plan is always perfect, even when it is not easy to accept in the moment. Rejection can become a means of elevation. It teaches humility. It reminds us that no matter how qualified, experienced, or talented we are, our success lies only with Allah. No employer, no company, no manager has the power to give you what Allah has not written for you. And no one can stop what Allah has written for you from reaching you. When you truly believe this, job rejection no longer breaks your spirit. Instead, it pushes you to increase your dua, to reflect on your intentions, and to work harder while placing your full trust in Allah. Think of how many people were rejected over and over, only to find that their eventual path was far greater than anything they had imagined. Think of those who lost one opportunity and found 10 better ones. The key is to remain patient and to continue striving. Do not stop applying, do not stop trying. But most importantly, do not stop trusting. There is a reason why Allah delays certain blessings. Sometimes He delays them to draw you closer to Him. Sometimes He delays them to protect you from harm. And sometimes He delays them so that when the right blessing arrives, you are truly ready to appreciate and handle it. When rejection comes your way, say Alhamdulillah. Thank Allah for saving you from something that was not meant for you. Ask Him to guide you towards what is better. And remember that your value does not decrease because of a rejection letter or an unsuccessful interview. Your worth is determined by your character, your sincerity, and your relationship with Allah, not by the approval of people. There are those who have jobs but are miserable because they rushed into something without seeking Allah's guidance. There are those who earn much but have no barakah in their wealth because it came in a way that distanced them from their Lord. What good is a job that fills your pockets but empties your soul? What good is an opportunity that shines outwardly but brings darkness to your heart? This is why a believer does not measure success by worldly standards alone. A believer looks to what pleases Allah and brings true peace of mind. So, the next time you face rejection, remind yourself this is part of Allah's plan. He is redirecting me. He is saving me. He is preparing me for something better. Keep moving forward. Keep relying on Him. Keep making dua. The doors will open at the right time, and when they do, you will look back and realize that every rejection was a blessing in disguise. Your job is to stay firm in faith, to do your part with honesty and effort, and to leave the outcome to the one who knows what is best for you in this world and the next. Consider creating opportunities rather than only seeking employment. So often, people limit their vision by believing that the only way to earn a living is to be employed by someone else. They send out applications, wait for responses, and put their hopes in the hands of companies and managers. But what if Allah has written for you a different path? What if your rizq is meant to come through the skills and talents He has blessed you with, waiting to be used in ways you have not yet considered? The mindset of constantly waiting for a job offer can sometimes blind us to the vastness of the opportunities that Allah has placed all around us. It can cause us to overlook the abilities we have to build something of our own, to benefit ourselves and others, and to contribute in unique ways. When you look at the examples of the prophets, peace be upon them, and the righteous of the past, you see that many of them were self-reliant. They worked with their hands, they engaged in trade, they offered services, and they used their skills to earn a halal living. The beloved prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was a trader. He worked with honesty, fairness, and dedication, and through that, he earned respect long before prophethood. His companions, too, were people who did not always wait for employment. They sought out ways to provide for themselves and their families while keeping their trust in Allah. Creating opportunities does not always mean starting a large business or becoming wealthy overnight. It means using whatever ability you have to serve a need in your community, to provide a product or a service that benefits others, and to earn a lawful income from it. It could be something small, but with sincerity and effort, it can grow and bring both sustenance and blessings. Sometimes people hesitate to take this step because they fear failure or because they believe that only formal jobs offer security. But the real security comes from Allah. Whether you work for yourself or for someone else, it is the Almighty who provides. When you shift your mindset from only seeking employment to thinking about creating opportunities, you begin to see possibilities everywhere. That skill you have in crafting, teaching, repairing, designing, cooking, or organizing, have you considered how you can use it to start something of your own? That knowledge you carry, that experience you have gained, that passion you feel for certain work, have you thought about how to turn it into a means of earning? So often, we underestimate our potential. We think that unless we have a certain degree or work for a certain company, we cannot succeed. But success is not tied to titles or offices. Success is tied to effort, honesty, trust in Allah, and using what He has given you in the right way. Creating your own opportunities also teaches valuable lessons. It teaches resilience, creativity, and reliance on Allah. It forces you to grow, to think differently, and to take responsibility for your path. It teaches you to handle challenges and setbacks with patience and determination. And when you succeed, even in small ways, the satisfaction is great because you know that you built something with your own effort, by the permission of Allah. Of course, this does not mean that seeking employment is wrong. There is honor in working hard, whether for yourself or for someone else. But the point is not to limit yourself. Do not think that employment is the only door to provision. Allah opens doors in ways we never imagined. When you create opportunities, you not only benefit yourself but often provide means for others to benefit as well. You may end up giving jobs to others, supporting families, and becoming a source of good in your community. What greater success is there than that? So, do not fear the path of creating something of your own. Do not be afraid to start small, to learn along the way, and to trust that Allah will put barakah in your efforts. The important thing is to stay within the bounds of what is halal, to work with integrity, and to never forget that provision comes from the Almighty alone. Whether you are employed by someone else or working for yourself, it is He who grants success. And sometimes, what you are seeking elsewhere is actually waiting for you to create it with your own hands, with His help. Tie your heart to the Almighty, not to people or positions. When a person ties their hopes, their happiness, and their sense of worth to people or to worldly positions, they set themselves up for disappointment and heartache. People change, positions come and go, and the world is filled with uncertainty. But the one who never changes, the one who never abandons you, the one who never fails in his promise, is Allah. This is why the believer is taught to attach the heart to the Creator, not to the creation. When the heart is tied to Allah, it finds strength in every situation. Whether a person gains or loses a job, whether people praise or criticize, whether they find worldly success or face setbacks, the heart remains firm because it trusts in the wisdom and mercy of the Almighty. So often we see people become consumed with the desire to please others. They worry constantly about gaining the approval of employers, managers, colleagues, or society. They measure their worth by how much they earn, what title they hold, or what others think of them. This can lead to anxiety, sadness, and even a loss of identity. But when your heart is tied to Allah, you are free from this. You know that your value is not defined by the opinions of people or the position you hold in this temporary world. Your value is defined by your faith, your character, and your relationship with the one who created you. Positions of this world are temporary. One day, a person may have a high position, and the next day, it may be gone. A person may be respected and honored by people today and forgotten tomorrow. But the one who holds tight to Allah will never be forgotten. Allah remembers His servants, answers their prayers, and grants them what is best, even if it is not always what they wanted. This is why tying your heart to Him brings peace. You stop worrying excessively about worldly matters because you know that everything is in His hands. You work hard, you do your part, but you leave the outcome to Him. You seek His pleasure before all else. There is no harm in trying to achieve success, in striving for a good position, or in wanting to be recognized for your efforts. But never let these things take over your heart. Never let them become the reason you feel happy or sad, confident or broken. When you tie your heart to people or positions, you will always feel insecure because you are depending on something that is not stable. People can let you down. Jobs can end. Wealth can disappear. But when your heart is tied to Allah, you know that whatever comes your way is part of His perfect plan. You find contentment in His decree. You find hope in His mercy. You find courage in knowing that He is with you, no matter what happens in this world. A heart tied to Allah is a heart that is free. Free from the chains of worrying about the opinions of others. Free from the fear of losing worldly things. Free from the need to constantly seek validation from creation. Such a heart is strong because it draws its strength from the one who is all-powerful. It does not break easily because it knows that everything happens by Allah's will and that with every difficulty comes ease. When a person has this connection, they are able to face life's challenges with patience, with dignity, and with a sense of purpose. So, remind yourself often positions will not last. People's opinions will not last. What will last is what is done for the sake of Allah. What will last is the contentment of a heart that knows its Lord and trusts in Him completely. Let your efforts be sincere. Let your intention be to please Allah first, and everything else will fall into place. Whether you rise in rank or face loss, whether people support you or turn away, whether the world praises you or forgets you, it will not harm you because your heart is attached to the one who will never leave you. This is the path to true peace and lasting success. The prophets themselves worked with dignity. Honest trade is a noble path. When we look into the lives of the prophets, peace be upon them all, we find that they did not sit idle, nor did they consider it beneath them to earn a living through simple, honest means. They engaged in work that was pure, work that upheld their dignity, and work that brought benefit to themselves and those around them. The best of creation, the final messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was known for his trustworthiness and honesty in trade long before he was known as a prophet. He worked in business, he traveled for trade, and he dealt with people with fairness, integrity, and kindness. It was through these dealings that he earned the title of Al-Amin, the trustworthy. His noble character in business made people admire him, and it prepared him for the weighty task of delivering the message of Islam. We often think of success as something tied to status, wealth, or power. But the prophets taught us through their example that true success lies in working with dignity, no matter how simple the task. Many of them were shepherds. They looked after sheep and livestock, spending long hours in the fields. They found honor in this humble work because it was lawful, because it taught patience and responsibility, and because it kept them connected to the creation of Allah. Being a shepherd taught them leadership, compassion, and the ability to care for the weak, qualities that later helped them guide entire nations. In trade, too, they demonstrated the highest standards. They did not cheat, deceive, or take advantage of others. They dealt with people sincerely, fulfilling their trusts, being honest in their measurements and weights, and ensuring that no one was wronged through their hands. This is what made their work noble, not the type of work they did, but the way they did it, always conscious of Allah's presence, always striving to please Him through their dealings. In our times, many people look down on certain jobs or forms of work, thinking that only positions with high salaries or fancy titles are worthy of respect. But in the sight of Allah, it is not the label of the job that matters. It is the honesty, the effort, and the purity of intention behind it. Honest trade is indeed a noble path, and it is a means through which a person can attain the pleasure of Allah. A person who deals fairly, who earns through halal means, and who provides for their family through hard work is beloved in the sight of Allah. The earnings from such work bring barakah. They nourish not just the body, but the soul as well. When you earn in a way that is clean and pure, you will find peace in your heart. Your dues will be more readily accepted. Your wealth will benefit you and your loved ones in ways beyond measure. On the other hand, wealth that comes from dishonesty or harm to others may seem large in amount, but it lacks barakah. It will never bring true contentment or lasting benefit. The prophets showed us that no work is too small or insignificant as long as it is halal and done with sincerity. They showed us that working with your own hands is a source of honor. They showed us that what matters is how you earn, not how much you earn. In a time where people chase after status and riches without concern for how they get them, we must remember these examples. We must remind ourselves and our children that dignity lies in earning through honest means. It does not matter if the work is humble in the eyes of people. What matters is that it is pleasing to Allah. So whether you are trading, farming, building, teaching, crafting, or serving in any other lawful way, do so with the same dignity that the prophets demonstrated. Remember that your work, if done with honesty and sincerity, can be a form of worship. Remember that the greatest people who ever lived, those chosen by Allah, were not ashamed to work in simple professions. They found honor in their work because they did it for the sake of Allah, and they did it with integrity. Let this inspire us to seek pure earnings, to work with dignity, and to remember that in every halal effort, there is nobility and reward. Every rejection is actually a redirection to something better by Allah's will. This is a truth that every believer must hold firmly in their heart. When you face rejection, whether it is from a job, an opportunity, or even from people, it is not the end of your story. It is a sign that Allah, in His perfect knowledge, is guiding you toward a path that will be better for you in ways you may not see right now. Often, we become so focused on what we desire that we cannot see beyond it. We convince ourselves that this one opportunity, this one position, this one door is the only way forward. When that door closes, we feel lost and broken. But in reality, Allah is moving you away from something that is not meant for you, or that could harm you, or that may delay your growth, and He is turning you towards something that will benefit you more deeply. It is part of human nature to feel disappointed when faced with rejection. But as believers, we are taught to look beyond the immediate pain and to trust in the unseen wisdom of our Creator. Allah does not withhold something from His servant except that He gives something better in return, whether that better is in this life or in the next. Sometimes, what we think is good for us is, in fact, a source of harm. And sometimes what we see as a loss is actually a protection, a mercy sent to shield us from future regret or difficulty. Allah knows what lies ahead, we do not. This is why we must learn to see rejection not as failure, but as part of the divine plan. When a person is rejected from something they longed for, It is easy to fall into despair, to question their worth, or to feel that they are being punished. But the reality is far from this. Rejection is not a punishment for the believer who continues to seek Allah's pleasure. It is a redirection. It is Allah guiding you toward what will bring you closer to Him, toward what will strengthen your faith, or toward what will open doors to new and unexpected blessings. It is Allah teaching you patience, humility, and reliance on Him alone. Through rejection, He purifies your heart from pride, from arrogance, from the illusion that you are in control. He reminds you that all power and all planning belong to Him. Think about how many times in life you thought you wanted something badly, only to realize later that it would not have been good for you. Think about how many times you were heartbroken over a closed door, only to walk through another that brought you greater peace, greater success, or greater growth. This is the mercy of Allah at work in your life. Every rejection is actually an opportunity for you to turn back to Him, to make dua with greater sincerity, to seek His guidance more earnestly, and to open your heart to possibilities you had not considered before. It is important to remember that redirection does not always mean immediate ease. Sometimes, the path Allah guides you to may include struggle, effort, and time. But in the end, it will be the path that brings the most barakah, the most growth, and the most reward. The believer's job is not to understand every detail of the plan in the moment. The believer's job is to trust the planner, to keep striving, and to keep the heart open to the signs that Allah sends along the way. Every rejection is a reminder that Allah is in control. It is a chance to renew your trust in Him, to remind yourself that success is not measured by how many doors open immediately, but by how steadfastly you keep walking toward what is pleasing to Him. The heart that believes this will not break with every closed door. Instead, it will grow stronger, more patient, and more hopeful, knowing that behind every rejection lies a redirection filled with Allah's wisdom and mercy. This is the mindset that brings peace in this world and success in the next.